All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's Wednesday Wise webinar. My name is Sydney Konahia with the International Franchise Association, and we have a wonderful 60 minutes lined up for you all today. Before we get started, I just wanted to make two notes. The webinar will be recorded, and a link to the recording along with the slide deck will be emailed out to everyone this evening. And if you have any questions for Brad or Zachary today, please feel free to drop those questions in the chat or questions box, and they will address them towards the end of the session. Today's topic is From Chaos to Clarity, How to Turn Inconsistent Franchise Data into Real-Time Performance Insight, and it's brought to us by QVinci Software. Here to provide today's discussion are Brad Adams, President, CEO, and Chairman of QVinci Software, and Zachary Stein, Principal Financial Systems Analyst with Paul Davis Restoration. Thank you both for joining us today, and thank you again to QVinci for sponsoring today's Wednesday Wise webinar. I will now turn things over to you guys to get us started.
Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate that. And thanks for everyone showing up today. We're going to get some really great insights from, a very established elite franchise, Paul Davis Restoration, and their financial analyst, Zachary here. So let's get into it. This is all about how to turn inconsistent franchise data into real-time performance insights. Okay. So I want to welcome everybody and kind of set the stage here. We'd like to do about 5 things in this webinar. Kind of expose that real failure point, fragmented data. That's the failure point of most franchises. It's not leadership efforts or tools. It's just bad data. Garbage in, garbage out is what we hear a lot. We want to talk about, dashboards are not going to fix your data foundation problems. So we need to reframe that idea. We're going to explain some industry frustrations, okay? Kind of why benchmarking, coaching, and adoption stall, bad data. We're going to talk about, clarify who owns the data level and who doesn't, create some urgency, and talk about, the financial insights that you can get from this data. So let's start out with we're already introduced to myself and Zachary Stein, the financial analyst at Paul Davis, but I wanted just to give Paul a chance to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about Paul Davis before we start.
Hey, everybody. I'm Zachary Stein. I work for Paul Davis Restoration. We specialize in disaster reconstruction and remediation and mitigation work. At Paul Davis, I'm the QVinci subject matter expert and the QuickBase Realm administrator. I focus on the financial and operational data engines behind the businesses. I design applications, automate reporting, build KPI frameworks that reduce manual gray work and turn business processes into systems that we could actually scale with. My role really sits at the intersection of ops, finance, and data, and translating the requirements of the business leaders into tools that enable everybody to do their jobs. And QVinci is a critical piece of that, especially around reducing the manual gray work.
Well, thank you very much, Zachary. I appreciate that. And our agenda today, we're gonna go over some learning objectives. We're going to talk about how a real data solution is not reporting, it's infrastructure. We call it the QVinci data, okay? And it's basically the data that QVinci gives you. And we're going to talk about some other critical parts of a great franchise performance management solution and getting Zachary's opinion on each one of these items. And then we're going to talk about how data converts to usable solutions. We call it QVinci Intelligence. And which is just another name for the business intelligence that comes out of the QVinci platform or the QVinci data. Talk about the 3 final must-haves that make up a good financial performance management, and just do a recap, next steps, and Q&A, and then wrap things up. So let's talk about some of our learning objectives today. Okay, we want to identify data fragmentation as a root cause of performance gaps. We want to distinguish between visualization tools and real data infrastructure. We want to understand why franchise benchmarks often lie and the minefields they create. And we want to comprehend how standardized data collection, consolidation mapping eliminates the debate or eliminates the problem. We want to have help you build, or at least start to build, a scalable performance system grounded in truth. And we want you to leave today with sort of a framework to evaluate your franchise data maturity and hopefully some next steps you can take. So we finished the introductory part of this webinar. So let's start out with a polling question, Sydney. And the polling question is, how many different systems does your franchise brand rely on for location level financial, non-financial, or operational data? 1 to 2 systems, 3 to 5 systems, 6 to 10, more than 10. That's good. Just check one of those, and I think that should be pretty good, Sydney. We are better wrap that up. 3 to 5 systems, 67%. 6 to 10 systems, 13%. That's a lot of systems to help your franchise get your operational data. Would you agree with that, Zachary? That's a lot to manage.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see. Let me get my. All right. Let's move to the first section of this webinar, and it's about the data solution. It's like I said, it's not reported, it's infrastructure. We call it the Cavinci data because it's the patented way Cavinci collects, consolidates, and maps that data and gives it to you. And one of the things, Zachary, at IFA, I know you couldn't be there this year, but the theme I heard everywhere was unit level economics is everything. And that was such an important thing. And to start with, to get unit level economics, you got to start with good data. Okay. So Zachary, I'd like you to talk about the concept of unit level economics being everything, and how does this unit level economics relate to the services you provide your franchises?
Yeah, really, Paul Davis, the businesses that we're working with, they're fairly complex organizations. We have interrelationships with insurance companies. They're doing project management work that has complex supply chain issues, and all the back end accounting that goes into that. Of course, across the network, there's various degrees of skills and consistency related to the accounting processes and everything. And one of the big issues that we're constantly grappling with is enabling our business consultants to go and directly engage with the different franchises and target the pieces that are underperforming or overperforming, frankly. So sometimes just simply for us knowing where to look is more than half the battle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So, Zachary, at Cavinci, we did a market survey last year, about 550 brands, and the 3 pillars of profitably scaling franchise growth are franchise financial insights and data consolidation, franchise owner performance coaching, and brand compliance and expansion. You need good data. You need to coach your people how to make more money, and you need to keep them in compliance with your rules and sell more units. So, talk to our audience your take on the 3 pillars and how they relate to Paul Davis.
Yeah, the businesses themselves are all very different, and so being able to kind of easily do peer comparison reporting is really helpful for us. And again, I can't understate the focus that I have on the elimination and the streamlining of the reporting piece of it. Like, that is such a large part of it for us because the accounting is complicated for these businesses, and there are a lot of them. And we have a fairly small team of consultants that are servicing this really large group. So for us, the two pillars, the data insights, consolidation, and performance coaching is definitely where Cavinci really helps us. Around brand compliance and expansion, it's certainly easy for a new franchise to come online to get Cavinci and sync their QuickBooks in. The compliance piece of it, I find we use it more to help us find offices that have, like I said, inconsistent accounting processes and help coaching them, or at least understanding why some of their numbers and results are the way they are.
Well, thank you very much. It's important point. Let's talk about connecting the three pillars. Pillar one being the data, pillar two being the insight, pillar three sort of the performance and compliance or action. One of the things that we like to talk about is how these three pillars work together, and could you talk a little bit about, and I think you just did a part about talking about how they help you at Paul Davis, but maybe talk a little bit about how important it is to have that truth, trust, and standardization of the data before we even start.
Yeah, I mean, standardization and consistency is the most important thing, as every accounting, finance, and data adjacent person really knows and probably grapples with in some form or fashion. But really, to me, the two important things are, first of all, and this is kind of big. I've worked in a lot of different finance and data shops now, but when I go into Cavinci and I look at a franchise's financials, that always ties back to their QuickBooks correctly. There might be mapping eccentricities or debit credit issues that are driven by the office's strange accounting, but we're never in the situation where we're looking at some data and talking to them and they go, that's not what the numbers look like at all, and we're unable to reconcile to those numbers. So I think really in the IT world, in my experience, that is basically the most important thing, because in many of these conversations, processes with other business users, if that happens where the data doesn't align between the two systems, that it basically kills any conversation and anything productive happening after that. So that's really what comes to mind for me when it's tying it all together.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And you kind of talked about it in the slide before that. Because I think at Cavinci we think that pillar one is the foundational pillar, without which you cannot really effectively do your coaching for performance and all the other things all the other financial analysis that you do if you don't have the good data. And that's what Cavinci was founded on. You and I were talking this morning, Zachary, and I think I said I don't know if you're the first customer of Cavinci, but you guys are definitely in the first 10 to use Cavinci. You guys have been with us for a long time, and understand that importance of that pillar one data, of how to collect, consolidate, and map the data. And so let's move on to, I have this slide here, Zachary. It's called the operational problem, but it just kind of encapsulates all the different stakeholders in a large organization like yours: brand management, maybe private equity, franchisors, franchisees, business coaches, and there may be more. You may have all different kinds of QuickBook files. You may have all kinds of other accounting files or non-financial data. And then you have all your franchise locations. We talk about this as, one of the things that Cavinci does in the background is help solve this problem of the collection, consolidation, and mapping of all this data, so you guys can do what you do best, which is coach your franchise owners. So talk a little bit about how you at Paul Davis have handled the operational problems over there, and how maybe Cavinci's helped you kind of get a handle on that.
Honestly, it's real involved, and it's almost purely a case by case situation. The kind of accounting projects that I'm enabling is basically for the top level FP&A executive and her team of analysts. So, we're not there. It's never going to be a one size fits all kind of thing. And really, again, I'm sure everybody on this call knows they look at these numbers and they go, "Oh, that number doesn't look right. That looks strange," and it is wrong in some way. But really, all of what happens next with the conversations around what is this, where's that coming from, is how they answer that question. DaVinci helps us though with that by again spotlighting by either using the library reports or custom reports that I create. We're able to kind of immediately spotlight the exact GLs that have something strange going on, and then we're able to kind of take it from there. So that's huge for us right now is the data integrity and hygiene activities.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, the second thing I'd like to just spend just a brief amount of time on, we call it at DaVinci a traditional financial problem solved by DaVinci, which I really mean is, your franchisees are not finance guys. You are, okay? So you got to make things simple for them. And that's why all of our business intelligence has that green is good or red we got to talk. So, because your normal person that runs one of your franchises, he's a restoration person. He's not a finance person. So we like to think that our business intelligence, that the DaVinci data gives you, makes it very simple and easy for your franchisees to sit into and understand business coaching sessions. Talk a little bit about how the traditional financial problems, or how do you handle that over at Paul Davis Restoration?
We use some of the DaVinci KPI and benchmarking reports, at least to take a first look to start thinking about where they're going to want to focus their attention. Something that's really important that I don't think gets enough conversation is the actual meeting that the consultants are having with the owners themselves. You can have all the great data in the world, but it kind of needs to be a targeted conversation that can't sprawl and it can't drag. Trying to look up subschedules or what your reconciliations are. So DaVinci does help really streamline those meetings, which I do think makes the more engaged owners appreciative and helps make it easy for them to keep going to these meetings. When, as you said, they really have varying degrees of interest in this stuff and inclination and time, frankly, in their schedule.
Right. Well, I have this push-pull engagement paradigm, and I just want to talk generally about it. It's not really something that someone uses. It's really a concept that we came up with is how do we create collaboration between the franchise business coach or the franchisor and the franchisee? That's what this really means. And we like to think that the DaVinci, like the wellness dashboard or the KPI scorecard, can give the franchise business coach on one hand or the franchisee the reason to talk to each other. One pushes them into the conversation, one pulls them. So, I mean, if you could generally talk about how important it is to have easy tools so that the franchisee and the franchisor or the business coach are motivated to get together and have productive conversations. That's what this is really about. So let me get your opinion on that.
Yeah, something that all of the consultants need to do is, you log in every day and just take a look at some of these summary pages and see what, and again, the green and red kind of paradigm does make it easier for them to immediately kind of look and say, oh, cost of goods is up during this period, or, the balance sheet's going in a bad direction. And that does make it easy to reach out. Now, to be clear though, Brad, the group of consultants that I work with, they need more flexibility than typically what's going to be driven out of the scorecard view. So it's just a piece in a tapestry of analytics activities that they do to really understand, because sometimes just because cost of goods sold is, down or up 80% in a month, there could be many reasons why the numbers are showing that way. If just to be clear here, for any organization where the accounting is tighter, DaVinci is even more powerful in those scenarios, because then you have less diagnostic and analytics tasks that you're running through trying to understand what's driving some of these changes.
Yeah, and I was just using the KPI scorecard and the Wellness dashboard as examples of things that would kind of pull a conversation or push a conversation, and but I agree with you. I mean, it's whatever tools that you need to start that conversation and work, with working collaboratively. This is an interesting one. We say beware of the fake promises. I guess that's a bit strong. But there's a lot of platforms out there today that are built for single entities, and not really for franchises, I think you have some experience with some expensive enterprise platforms, maybe some mid-market accounting, and maybe give us your kind of your take on the solution that DaVinci provides to you, and the ease of use of it, if you can.
I do think DaVinci is pretty easy to use, especially from a technology perspective. I don't know how comfortable everybody on the call would be with Excel and advanced Excel, and I don't mean crazy advanced Excel, but just your generic advanced Excel for finance. And from a tech perspective, I think DaVinci, it installs easily. They get spun up and synced easily. We're not dealing with a massive professional services engagement that has all kinds of significant data architecture and on the front end and the back end, frankly. So yeah, I do think that DaVinci does a really good job with that, and it's something that I was always impressed by.
Well, thank you very much. Go ahead, Zachary.
Other things here. Our custom, our TAM, who is, I believe was a former CSM, this guy Rudy, he's great to work with. He definitely goes above and beyond. I don't have to chase him around. And I've also worked with his boss, who Tony, I believe, is the senior vice president of customer success. They've always been really accommodating and willing to meet with us. And from like a technical support perspective, I've typically worked predominantly with Robin Miller, who's also really great to work with. So it's really that customer support aspect more than anything else is what convinced me to be on the call here today, sharing my experience.
Well, listen, thank you very much. We appreciate that. One of the things, Zachary, that we're doing at DaVinci, we're doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is offloading their customer success to a foreign country and doing a ticket service. We're hiring professionals in Austin, Texas, to be there to help people solve their problems, and which is, I think is going to set us apart from the competition in the future, because when we're dealing with sophisticated software here, and I know you don't want to get a chat bot. So, all right, Sydney.
Products are tough to work with. So for context, everybody, normally I've worked in really large finance shops, like for banks, S&P Global, Emerson, which is like a GE competitor, and they all use SAP or Oracle solutions and whatnot, and they're powerful and really cool what they can do, but in most situations it's like a bazooka when you just need like a little BB gun.
Yeah.
It really is. It is very good in that regard.
Okay, well, listen, let's go to polling question number 2, guys. How confident are you that all franchise locations are reporting data using the same definitions and charts of account? One of the things, Zachary, I heard at IFA was, how do I keep all my franchisees using the same chart of accounts? It's a minefield, and somebody from Neighborly stood up and said, use DaVinci. All right, you can shut it down, Sydney. Well, we got 36%, almost 50% either somewhat confident or not confident at all. Only 14% very confident. So you can't really do really strong business intelligence unless you have good data, and good data starts with a standard chart of accounts. The good news about Cavinci is you're not required to make sure they keep the standard chart of accounts, because that's what our program does automatically. Maps everything to a standard chart of accounts. So let's go here. All right, let's go to the next section, and we'll probably go through this section pretty quickly. It's about a couple of other critical parts of a great franchise performance management solution. And we're going to talk about two areas: role-based actionable insights and ease of use and implementation. The first one is going to be role-based actionable insights. And Zach, let's just go straight to you on this thing, and just talk generally about how important it is to have kind of role-based actionable insights for both the franchisor and the franchisee, and how you've done that at Paul Davis.
So really, the one of the main reasons that Cavinci was brought in historically was to be able to provide really high-level aggregated reporting as to what's driving performance across the network. As that, many potential investors are that kind of data is what drives those conversations. So having the ability to navigate those conversations with people that know a bit about finance is really important.
Right. I mean, to me, you can't have a one size. I think you said this earlier, Zachary. You can't have a one size fits all, because you have different needs for different groups. And one of the things that Cavinci is doing right now, and we're going to go over this at the end, it's not even out yet, it's in beta right now, is it's called a CFO dashboard. And we're going to create a CFO dashboard, CEO dashboard, other kind of dashboards for roles. And so they can go straight to the things that are important to them. So I think that's so important. The second part of this thing is ease and use and automation. And I think you told me, Zachary, that you were not there for the initial adoption of Cavinci, or did I misunderstand that?
It was implemented and integrated years before I was brought on.
Okay, but you did mention a minute ago about you working with Rudy and Tony and Robin about the working with the customer success, and that's kind of what we want to get at. We want to talk about that and talk about your everyday use of Cavinci and how that's made your job a little bit easier.
Sure. So let's be fair with everybody on the call here. Just like any software technology tool, if you buy this thing, you really do need to learn how to use it. Like, you will need somebody who knows how to use it to truly unlock its potential and its power. The stuff out of the box is really cool, and this is a criticism I've had of many organizations I've worked with, and some great mentors who I've seen really actually know and own these systems. So I make durable custom reports that the end users just kind of refresh and filter to do whatever their daily financial activities are. So you do need somebody who is going to own it and understand it. But once that is in place, it does enable a whole lot of other people. And the other piece that I do with it, again, this goes more to the other piece with QuickBase and other kinds of middleware, is we utilize Cavinci's various APIs to bring data in-house into our data warehouse for additional reporting or processes, so on and so forth.
And just to let you know, Zachary, we're pretty close to releasing a new bilateral API that we're going to be able to do non-fi data too.
Perfect.
Okay, and also if you have some franchisees on mid-market accounting, we're going to be able to handle that too. We're going to be accounting solution and data agnostic.
Sign me up for that UAT.
Okay, I'm hoping it's early summer. We're doing the beta testing. All right. Well, listen, we've covered this section. Let's do polling question number 3, Sydney. All right. How much manual effort is required today to collect, consolidate franchise location data? It's an interesting one. Fully automated, mostly automated with some manual work, significant manual work, extreme manual work, and that's spreadsheets, uploads, and emails, and we can't consistently collect it. I met a number of people at IFA, Zachary, that still were not collecting the data from their franchisees. They were relying on point of sale data alone. So we met them, and hopefully we're going to be able to convince them otherwise. But so, Cindy, why don't you wrap that up? Mostly automated with some manual work, significant manual work. That's 33% significant manual work and 67% somewhat manual work. So I'm glad that people attend this webinar, because this is Cavinci can take that and make it automated. All right. Now, we talked about the Cavinci data, okay, and how important that is. Now we're going to talk about the Cavinci intelligence. And Cavinci intelligence, Zachary, is just my catchphrase for business intelligence. We call it Cavinci intelligence because it comes from the Cavinci data, but it really means business intelligence. And I know you build that, and you've made a lot of custom reports. And I know some of these are things you haven't used before, but we'll talk about it in general. All right. The first thing is the franchise wellness dashboard, which I think you're familiar with. And if you could kind of talk a little bit about how you use this tool, or how you think you could use this tool, or maybe how other franchises may use this tool.
For myself personally, what I use this tool the most for is that last sync column, honestly. Which is actually a very important thing at our organization. Setting aside accounting process issues and the business performance and all that, timing issues and technology issues are always that we have to stay on top of. So I actually I use that column quite a lot on this page more than anything else.
Yeah, a lot of people use this page as sort of their starting point, and you can drill down to the GL from here, but you hit one of our most important points, which is that last date sync and that reporting data ready. When you click that button, you can see if people have their data synced. So that's an important part about it. But this is one of the most used tools at Cavinci by franchises, because it kind of gives you a starting point of where to go. And I think you mentioned earlier, Zachary, you guys pull a lot of data from the API, and you build a lot of your own custom reports. So you're a power user of Cavinci and a lot of other tools. A lot of the franchises that we run into, they use this a lot more because they don't have some of the advanced data capabilities that you have. So, go ahead.
I was saying absolutely. My boss is basically the senior database architect for the entire company. So Cavinci is part of our overall ETL process for numerous systems that we drive information from. The kind of reporting that we use the API data from is when we're joining it up against data from other systems. Yes, from a simplicity standpoint, if you just have a bunch of QuickBooks environments, Cavinci does make things a lot easier, and you don't have to deal with a SQL server and stuff like that.
All right. Now, this is Cavinci's KPI scorecard. It's one of 260 some odd reports we have in our library. And, I think you told me, Zachary, that you don't currently use this one, but maybe talk generally how important it is to have some KPIs for your franchises in whatever form. This one has ideal range and benchmarking, but talk about how important it is to have your KPIs that you go over with your franchise locations.
I mean, it's kind of everything, really. And being able to derive those KPIs is really the whole trick. So DaVinci does a good job of, making that reporting kind of standardized, and it's flexible enough that you can get at the data to kind of derive your KPIs as well if you don't know what might be your levers at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. This report we came up with, it's actually one of our most used reports on Cavinci because it's simple. And if you're a franchise owner in a small franchise, or medium or large one, and that you have that green is good, red we got to talk. You send this to your franchisees, and they know you have 6 red areas I got to focus on. So this is a really great tool for the franchisee, and the franchisees love it because they have the benchmarking or the ecosystem performance over here, and they can see how well they're doing against their peers, which everybody's competitive. The next report that we're going to talk about is ranking and benchmarking, and how do I think you said that you may not be using this exact report, but you do use ranking and benchmarking. Talk about how it's important at Paul Davis to have a benchmarking or ranking analysis, and how does that Cavinci data tie into making ranking and benchmarking calculations easier?
Yeah, so 2 things. First of all, again, broken record here, but just simply helping the ops team pinpoint where you're either really over or underperforming is such a crucial part of the business. The other piece of it is that Cavinci, I've spoken with several of the franchise owners themselves, and these were more ambitious, more technologically motivated owners, I would say, but they used the peer comparison reporting to improve their own operations by just kind of making up their own custom blend of process. Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly how they went about it because it was clearly like an iterative, long-term effort on their part. But many of them who I've spoken with have been able to use it on their own as well.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Zachary. We had a franchise last year, 2 years ago, and they said they wanted to leave Cavinci, and we had a meeting with them, and about 50 of their franchisees called up and said, "Listen, if the franchisor doesn't want it, we want it. Can we stay on there and save the onboarding cost?" Well, long story short, the franchise brand figured they stayed because so many of their franchisees wanted it because of the tools we give them. Like you said, the more adventurous or the more motivated franchisees. And ranking and benchmarking report. This thing is you can easily on the fly zero down to where you want to look at. We had a coffee company, had one coffee franchise losing 30,000 and one making 300,000 in the same market or a similar market. And we use this report in 15 minutes to find out where that person was wasting all their money. So it's a great tool. So here's one of our newest tools that we've come out with, and it's a break-even analysis, but including a what-if portion. So you have the break-even analysis on the left. So the left, and on the right you have, okay, what would my break-even analysis be if I do these things, if I cut these costs or make these changes? I'm not sure if you guys are using this tool, but talk about how important a break-even analysis is for franchise. So maybe for some of your at-risk franchises.
It is really it's what everybody is trying to get to in FPA. Um, uh, Data quality issues is always going to be the problem here. Cavinci definitely gives us the tools to do it. The reason we don't is that I don't think that at an aggregate level the data quality is there for all the spectrum of the different hundreds and hundreds of franchises. And again, these businesses, all businesses are complicated. These construction and reconstruction companies are very complicated businesses. So we don't really use it for the what if because we're looking to eke out like a 0.5%, 1% more swing here or there, and we need to do more diagnostic investigative working into their non-standardized QuickBooks to understand before we're going to be giving recommendations. So again, Cavinci is kind of the jump off point for us, and it really does reduce the time. And one other thing I just wanted to mention here, I know that I said earlier a minute ago that the more ambitious franchise owners were able to make better use of it. I do not think Cavinci is hard to use, everybody. I've used a lot of really pain in the butt softwares like SAP, for example, Microsoft Access, Classic, old school Excel. Cavinci is not hard to use. It's just being fair with any kind of technology product. You do have to invest some level in your own knowledge of it, or else you're always going to be, inefficient.
Yeah, well, thank you, Zachary. I appreciate that. And that's one of the reasons why, we have invested so heavily in our customer success because we do recognize that although Cavinci is not very difficult, it does take a little investment. Anything worthwhile does, and we are providing a lot more services of especially the smaller franchises. You work at a large franchise that can afford to hire people like you. But some of the smaller franchises, they don't have the staff like you guys have. So we're going to step in and try to help them there. So the next report we have is entities at risk versus high performers. And, this is a very simple report. You put all your units in there, you put the criteria, and then you can just define who's at risk and who's your high performers. And this tool came out this year, or at 25. So I'm not sure if you had a chance to use it, but talk a little in general about how is it important for a franchise to identify at-risk entities and identify who are your high performers and why it's so important that you can identify them.
Yeah, you have a lot of considerations when the franchise are underperforming that go far beyond. So at Paul Davis, we have whole processes around it, entire multi-business unit workflows, and Cavinci is a piece of it that we use.
Good. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if anybody wants to dig more into these tools, we'll have a link at the end, and you'll have a link in the deck that you're going to get today. That's going to give you a chance to look at some of these tools and do some deep dives. We're just kind of going over general topics right now. The next topic, the next tool we have. Before we go into our brand new one, is our performance dashboards. And our performance dashboards are, I guess, basically just a nice, visually appealing view of the things that are important to you. And this thing is totally customizable. At Paul Davis, how do you guys use some of the other like Power BI or Tableau that you pull the data in from Cavinci and other sources and create your own dashboards?
Well, so what we do is we bring in the data from Cavinci into our data warehouse, where then, depending on the complexity of what's happening happening, we'll either do the transformations inside the data warehouse, or I'll then bring it into either Power BI or QuickBase, which is a enterprise middleware software system, and then do whatever else it is that needs to be done with it.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fair enough. A lot of, like I said, we were talking about earlier, some of the smaller to medium-sized franchises, they don't have the ability or the technical skill that you have to go into the data warehouses. So, this is just another example of one of the 280 of these business intelligence reports that people can use as is, but like Zachary mentioned earlier, we have an API and we can pump that data wherever you want to, because it's all about the data first, then to build the business intelligence. All right, here's our newest tool. Oh, go ahead, Zachary. Go ahead.
Just to be clear, we use it in both ways.
Yeah.
For us, again, though, just to iterate here, because of the complexity of the accounting situations that these fairly small team is dealing with, we often have to do both aspects of it to really navigate the size of this organization. It's a more than $1.4 billion a year in total revenue network. So they have a huge amount of volume and complexity they're dealing with here, and that's why sometimes some of it, like as a for example here, okay, like you talk about balance sheet issues, right? Businesses, your franchises, they got lines of credit, they got assets, they might not be legally bound by your franchise agreement to be reporting things a certain way, or purchasing them and structuring them a certain way. So sometimes we have to make ad hoc tools that sometimes the balance sheet data alone isn't going to tell us the complete story for some other business process entirely. That's where, the data warehouse kind of comes in, where this data doesn't live in QuickBooks. It's not in some integrated system. It's totally off to the side. And we've had to create a whole custom solution for that.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, the last tool we'll go over, and I'm just going to spend a little time on this because it's not even out yet. We think it's going to be released in the next 60 days, 90 days at the outside. It's in beta right now. And if anyone on this call wants to be included in our beta, please reach out to the link I'm going to give you, and we're happy to give you a beta. And our CFO dashboard is a dashboard that's going to live in Cavinci instead of going to the advisory portal, you can choose to have this as your opening screen, and it's going to have all of your profitability and cash spending. Oh, I'm sorry. Entities at risk, best performers, budgets versus actual, all kinds of metrics that we believe that a CFO would want to look at, on their dashboard. And you're going to be able to drill down from each one of these items right into the underlying reports inside of Cavinci. And like I said, it's not available yet, but it's the next wave of Cavinci. We call it Cavinci Intelligence, business intelligence with Cavinci data. But this is something I think we've been working on this a group of reports for almost a year now, and this is just a picture of it. What's really gonna blow your mind is the level of drill down and the level of interrogation you can do from any one of these data points on this spreadsheet. I just bring this up as kind of a teaser at the end. No one's using it right now because it's just come out. So if anybody wants to be in the beta, like I said, let us know. We're happy to put you in there and get your comments on it. I think it's our next step of business intelligence or Cavinci intelligence. So let's go move on. We got about 10 minutes left, and we got a little bit left to get to. So let's go to polling question number 4. What's the biggest barrier to consistent franchise location data today? Franchisee effort required, inconsistent charts of accounts, too many systems, lack of automation, lack of trust in the data. I think Zachary, we talked earlier we took the poll, there were like 3 to 6 systems that most people were using just to get the data. Okay. Sydney, you can go ahead and close it up. Wow, 38% franchisee effort required, 38% inconsistent chart of accounts, and 25% too many systems. Sounds like a lot of people, especially on this call, and this is very consistent with what I heard at IFA, Zachary, is people are not getting the data like you do. I mean, you're at the top echelon of collecting and using data in franchise systems.
Sure. It's not. Nobody's waving a magic wand at Paul Davis, and the data is just nicely appearing. Convince you, like, it does a good job, but all this other stuff I'm talking about is serious effort. It's serious to really orchestrate it.
But I guess the point is that it all starts with really good data, and then you can really go and build some systems. And if you're a small franchise, you can do some small things. If you're a large franchise, you can do some large things. All right, the final 3 must-haves. We got 10 minutes left, so we're going to kind of go through the last couple of things pretty quick. It's just training and support programs, scalability and customization, industry trust. And I'm going to go through these things rather quickly. Training and support programs. Zach, you've already mentioned early on Rudy, Robin, Tony, and we appreciate that. I'm going to make sure I throw in the chat this afternoon your comment. But having a support team and having training and support programs really it makes all the difference. I think it's just software alone's not going to drive change. Zachary, you just said that. Sorry about that. You got to have some training and support programs because it does take some effort, as anything good does. Scalability and customizations. Got to be able to scale this thing, and I think Paul Davis using Convinci shows you they can scale it. And Paul, Zachary, I think you mentioned that you guys do a lot of customization of reports, and that's absolutely necessary. You have to, one of the things at Convinci, we built it as an Excel interface, and the reason why we did that is because most people know how to use Excel, and if you can envision a report in Excel, you could likely build it in Convinci. And the last thing in this section is industry trust. These are some of the brands that we do work for, which, Paul Davis is right there as solidly in the middle. But we do a lot of, we probably have 400 brands, 50,000 locations, Lincoln and Sinking and Convinci. We've been doing this for a long time, and a lot of great brands like Paul Davis and others trust us. So let's go to polling question number 5. We got about 7 minutes left, so I think we'll be fine. What would have the greatest impact on franchise performance across your brand? Better dashboards and BI, more frequent reporting, automated data collection and standardization of that data, better franchisee coaching tools, improved operational systems. All right, Sydney, I think we could wrap it up. Wow. Having automated data collection and standardization. Convinci's got some work to do because that's what we do. And that's 60 some odd percent, that's 70% of the responses there. So that's really great. And that's consistent with what I heard at IFA. All right, let's wrap things up here today, and just kind of talk about what we learned today. We talked about data automation. We talked about standard chart of accounts enforcement. We talked about system-defined truth of the data. We talked about vendor agnostic inputs. Zachary mentioned a bunch of the inputs he does. He brings them into a data warehouse. We talked about a franchise first solution like Convinci, not retrofitted a BI, but purpose-built infrastructure. And we talked about a modern franchise leadership, aligning partnership-driven franchise models, not command and control, and talk about direct ROI. You got to have things you can use. The next steps here, you'll get a copy of this deck. You can schedule a private demonstration. Click the link. A Acuity calendar will open up. Pick a time and date you're choosing, and we're happy to go over with you anything that was going over in this webinar and teach about Cavinci. We have other live product focused webinars that really dive deep into the product, and we have a learning center. These are all live links, and they'll be in the deck that you get this afternoon. And first, I want to say thank you, Zachary and Paul Davis, for joining this session today. It was very informative. And Zach, we don't have much time left because we had some great topics. So I kind of let things go a little bit further than I would, because you had some great insight for our guests. And our guests are 150 some odd franchises who really want to hear from you. So I'm going to give you a minute or two to kind of talk about, maybe some last great words of advice for a franchise that's listening today.
Yeah, thanks. As with everything, if you're working with franchise owners, having empathy to what they're going through and what might be driving their accounting processes and results one way or the other is everything. And it's more, and it will help more than anything related to the numbers, the data, any of that. So that's my commentary around working with small business owners, basically. As to myself, I absolutely love talking about this stuff. Anybody on the call who's, working through problems or whatever, wants to talk to me further about Cavinci, feel free to reach out to me. Just my full name, zachary.stein@pauldavis.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Like I said, I love talking about BI stuff, much to the dismay of my wife, who's an attorney and doesn't for any of this kind of stuff. If you want to talk, just give me a shout.
Thank you very much, Zachary. It's been a great webinar. Franchises love to hear how people are doing it, and one thing sticks in my mind, Zachary, 70% of the people said they need to automate the collection, consolidation, and mapping of their franchisee data. 70%. And I think you've given them some good information on Cavinci has too, and we can help you with that. And from that, you can build your reports. Either use Cavinci reports or do what you do and put that to a data warehouse. So thank you very much. Got about 2 minutes left, so I'm going to go over the appendix for everyone. I'm including the appendix here for everyone, and what you have is 2 parts here. You click this is a hot links. And we have a Cavinci buyer's guide, onboarding guide, ROI guide, FAQ guide. We have strategies for success, and we have about 6 or 8 different success stories in this library. You just click the link and open it up, and you can download the ebooks. And why Cavinci is a smart choice. Kind of goes over a lot of the topics we talk about today. But I wanted to give everybody, if a chance at their convenience, if they wanted to kind of dig deeper, here's an easy way to do it. And then finally, I just want to let everyone know that we are a single source provider of QuickBooks and Intuit tools as well. So if you're a franchise and you need to upgrade from desktop to online, or add online, or convert from another one, Cavinci is a one-stop shop. And we provide the customer success for both tools, so we can help you with that too. And that's been a big selling point of ours over the last couple of years. We've sold thousands and thousands of QuickBook files because we're the customer success. And as I said, our customer success lives in Austin, Texas. We answer the phone and we get back to you. Some of these other companies, they think that a bot is all they need to give you. And that doesn't cut it. So anyway, well, listen, we're about end of time here. We got less than a minute. So Zachary, I just want to say thank you again. It's been great hosting this webinar. And Sydney, I'm gonna send it back to you with about 30 seconds left.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you both, Brad and Zachary. This is a wonderful webinar. I know the audience is going to leave with a lot of helpful information. Again, just as a reminder, this webinar was recorded and the recording and slide deck will be emailed out to all of you later on today. But thank you again so much for joining, and thank you again to QVenchi for sponsoring today's Wednesday Wise webinar. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week, and hopefully, you're going to be experiencing some wonderful weather this weekend so you can get out of the cold or the snow that we've been experiencing recently. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sydney. Thanks, Zachary.
Bye.